Cue the music. This channel was started on May 20th, 2017, and since then, with the exception of a few recent weeks, I've been creating weekly content. But there's a problem. And to explain it properly, we have to go back to what the Polymath was before it was the Polymath. Okay, quick history lesson. A few months before this channel was started, I was feeling frustrated with myself. I kept thinking negative thoughts about myself, like I don't stick with anything, or I'll never amount to anything if I don't choose one thing to dedicate my life to. And the big one, I have a list of things that I want to do and experience, but instead, I spend an exorbitant amount of time watching YouTube and Netflix. So I came up with a solution. I figured that part of this inaction came from the inability to choose between all of my fascinations, and the fear that if I did choose one of them, I'd be leaving another one out. In order to remedy this, I came up with what would become the Polymath Project Ooh Shiny. The idea is that I would go through the things I want to do and learn one by one, with an allotted amount of time, allowing myself to be immersed in the subject. Allowing myself to go down this rabbit hole, and then, at the end of the allotted amount of time, an alarm would go off. At which point I would decide whether I wanted to continue immersing myself further in this subject, or to change and do something new. This does a couple things. Firstly, it gets me up and doing things instead of sitting on my ass doing nothing. Secondly, by actually doing things instead of just thinking about them, I get to start crossing things off of my list. And lastly, it allows me to focus my attention in on one thing at a time without feeling guilty for not focusing my attention on all of the other things I want to do. I wanted to make videos about these various fascinations that I have, and that later became this. The Polymath. The rest of the story, you know, you're caught up. But there is a problem. The Polymath has become less about me immersing myself in various subjects and learning and doing and experiencing, and more about getting the next week's Polymath finished and uploaded. I'll finish the video and then the next day be working on next week's video. There's no time for me to immerse myself in something new, and any time spent working on another subject or even reading a good book is tinged with this guilt that I'm not working on the next week's Polymath. As much as I hate to admit it, the Polymath videos have started to feel like doing dishes. You do dishes because you love delicious meals. The frustration that I have with them is that you do the dishes so that you have clean dishes to use later, so that you can dirty those dishes, so that you have to do the dishes again. It's an endless cycle, but we do them because we love the food we create. For the Polymath, writing is the dishes. And that's most of what the Polymath is writing, taking an idea from its embryonic form into this finished piece that you have in front of you. There is a lot of second guessing and doubt and expletives in that process. And eventually it gets done, and that is the rewarding part. It's the delicious meal of achievement and getting to interact with you, the audience, that makes it worth it. But then we finished that meal, and it's time to do the dishes again. This process, when it's never ending, gets exhausting. You eat the delicious meal and then you have to go back to preparing the next meal. You never get a respite. This is the problem in essence. Weekly scheduled uploads were important. They kept me on my feet, making stuff and posting, but in the process of doing that, I've forgotten the Project Ooh Shiny part of the Polymath. The point where I get to immerse myself in something brand new and bring something fresh to these videos. I don't know about you, but I've felt like the recent videos have sort of lacked the essence and fervor that the first videos had. That, I know, is just a matter of opinion, and I, of course, am going to see it differently than anyone else who's watching these videos, but that is how I feel. So, we're trying something new. For the next 2 months, starting right now, I'm going to be posting a Polymath video every 2 weeks instead of every week. On the opposing weeks, I'm going to be doing my own Project Ooh Shiny experiment. They may overlap one another. I might do a Polymath video about the Project Ooh Shiny. They may not. But it gives me a chance to do what the Polymath was originally intended to do. Welcome to Polymath 2.0. See you in 2 weeks. It's more of an update video, so it's like hard to end. So we're just gonna start fading out here in a minute, and sort of just fade me out, and the image will go away, and we're in Fox Glacier now, working as housekeepers in a holiday park, which is sort of like a campground, and yeah, how are you?